Ryan Ermanni, Braylon Edwards, and Tom Mazaway along with us. Dan Miller, the voice of the Detroit Lions, Fox 2 sports director, joining us now. Dan, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Dan.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Oh, doing great, man.
What's up,
doing
Dan?
great. Now, I'll have you know, usually when you're on, you are my favorite guest of the day. But coming up next, after you, we've got the manager of the Oilers, Kenny Holland, joining us. So
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Big game tonight.
He's got a lot of rings.
Oh, man, good old Kenny Holland. Just fantastic stuff. Kenny Holland will join us in about 20 minutes. Dan, let me ask you. I saw this from J.J. Watt, first of all. J.J. Watt, this is how players look at the schedule. They look at the first game of the year. They look at Thursday night games. They look at anything that will affect their routine. When is the bye week? And possible weather games like Buffalo in December or Miami in September. How does a broadcaster look at the NFL schedule?
I think he covered it, man. I think that's pretty much the same way. I think you definitely look. There were all these rumors that it was going to be the Rams on opening night, on a Sunday night opening weekend, and that makes sense. It was such a hotly contested game last year. So that one I was looking at to see who they play there, and then when are you going to Chicago? When are you going to Green Bay? Those two cold weather cities, and obviously. We're going to Chicago late. We're going to Green Bay, and I'm looking at it now, Sunday, November 3rd. So I look at those, and then you look at, the blocks where you have like a couple of away games in a row. Late November, early December, you got 3 home games in a row, including Thanksgiving. So I think you just look for anything that kind of jumps out at you that way in terms of how, are you going to be home for basically a month there with those 3 games in a row?
Yeah, there was a block. I think it's September 30th. They're at home, and then they're not at home again until October 27th with the bye week and then two road games. I mean, they're away from Ford Field for a long time.
4 out of 5 weeks they're away from Ford Field with the Cowboys at Minnesota, home for the Titans, at Green Bay, at Houston. So, look, we know it's hard to win in this league. So that's basically, it is 5 weeks where you're going to be gone for 4 of them. So, look, I'm, Ryan, you and I have talked about this before. I'm not big on the whole schedule thing. And I just think good teams find a way to win 10 or 11 games. Bad teams find a way to lose 10 or 11 games. And I've never seen a team that said, well, we'd have been really good if our schedule had been easier. So, just find some way to.
We said that all the time in Cleveland. What? That was words to live by, Dan.
Ermanni will tell you that's on Cleveland's end.
That's right. That's on Cleveland's end.
No, but look, good teams win, man. That's what they do. So it's fun to see who you're playing and when you're playing them. But once you're in it, I mean, everything takes a different shape. What we think about these teams now will be totally different than what we think about them in September. And sometimes what you think about them in September is completely different than what you think about them in, October, November, December.
Hey, Dan, look, man, it's all fun and games right now, so let's keep it loose. We'll get serious as we get into August and September. But right now, you take away the rematch game, you take away the Rams, you take away the 49ers game. What is the game that you're looking at on the schedule where you got to circle, you're like, oh, this game's going to be fun, or this game is going to be whatever it is. It's a game that you're looking at as soon as you glance.
Well, I would say that if you look at it being a Thursday night against Green Bay at home after they came in here in Thanksgiving last year and handed it to us, that would be one. And then I think at Green Bay too. Look, I heard Ryan talking about it going to break before you guys came to me. It's Packers are going to be good, man. Packers are going to have to contend with. So you look at those games and figure those are the teams you're going to have to beat. And we went into Green Bay last year and ran it up on them, and they came back and made it respectable. But look, they're going to be looking at the Lions as the team they have to beat. So I think those are going to be really, hotly contested games that teams circle. I mean, San Francisco on a Monday night, that obviously jumps out at you as well. Then Indianapolis going there because you get to eat well on Saturday night. So
hey, you know about it.
Go to St. Elmo's,
You
get
go
you
to
a shrimp
Elmo's.
cocktail.
Exactly. I'm already tasting that shrimp. So you look at that because believe me, Saturday night restaurants play into this as well.
Because how Michigan has dominated the Big Ten, I always make my reservations at St. Elmo's a little bit earlier than most people.
You got it. You got to do it, man.
I got to
'cause if
pray
you
about
wait,
this
you're
one,
not
though.
getting in.
100%. Last question for me. You look at the Lions in terms of what they were last year, 12-5 to get to the NFC Championship. They were inches away, blah, blah, blah. I won't have to go backwards. A lot of people believe they've gotten better in the offseason. But when you say 13 wins, people are still, I don't know, 13 wins is a lot. This team is supposed to be better than they were last year. This team was number 2 in the NFC last year. So what's wrong with dreaming 13-4? They're supposed to find ways to win as one of the better teams, correct?
Yeah, no, look, and I don't know about putting a number on it. 13 feels like a big number for anybody, and I think that's probably where people go, whoa, you're only going to lose 4 of them out of 17. Yeah, no doubt. But you're right. They did win 12 last year. But Braylon, and again, you've been through this. I think it's the interesting thing now is how do you handle success? How do you handle expectations? Now, you had expectations within last year, but now you lost in San Francisco. You got to come back and do it all again. You got to come back and start over 0-0 and earn every single thing that you got last year. I was at Jared's press conference today where he's talking about his new deal and looking back and looking forward as well. And I'm looking at him and I'm just thinking, everything is great, but the hard part, and he knows this because he's been through it. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs multiple times with 2 teams. The hard part now is just starting from ground zero and doing it all over again. So to your point, there should be expectations on this team, significant expectations on this team, because they were good last year. And I do think you can make the case that they're better right now. And I still think there'll be more additions to the roster before they even get to the regular season. So those expectations are there. But the reality of that is now going out there and doing it against a Rams team that's going to come in here fired up, against a Bucs team that's going to come in here fired up. Going on the road to Arizona is never easy. And then back against Seattle, who's had their numbers. That first month, we just named 4 games, guys. Yep. Nothing's going to be easy. So you got to go out there and earn it. And that, I think, is the fascinating part about this, and it's the fun part about it. We're in the conversation. That hasn't happened in a long time. We'd be sitting here thinking, can you eke out 8 wins in some years? But it's a good place to be, but also it comes with the expectations. And as I've said before, you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because uncomfortable means people are expecting things from you.
Agreed.
All right, man. Hey, Dan, about Jared Goff's presser today. And first of all, your thoughts on the deal, the thoughts on the 3 players they signed, over $440 million they've laid out. But he said, and he made it pretty clear, it wasn't the money. And like Ryan says, it's always the money. But nonetheless, he said it was the security. He can now call his shot. He's got that no trade clause. There's not going to be any meetings in Cabo coming up on his back anymore.
Yeah, Maz, I lost about half that question. Go ahead and just give me that again.
I was just going to tell you the money they laid out for the 3 players, $444 million, and then Jared Goff saying it wasn't about the money, it's about the security. What's your thoughts on that, the no trade clause, and him going forward?
I think Jared Goff has earned that. I think Jared Goff has earned his place among the best quarterbacks in this league. And when you're among the best quarterbacks in this league, you walk into the room with a hammer and you can demand a big contract. And it's not to say that the Lions weren't comfortable paying it, because I think they were. Look, the person that's had the most faith in Jared Goff from day one is Brad Holmes. When Brad Holmes traded for Jared Goff, he didn't bring him in here thinking, like a lot of people did, that he was just going to be a guy here for a year or two until they developed somebody. He believed that he could use Jared Goff as his number 1 quarterback and that he could lead this thing. So I think what's happening isn't a surprise to the front office. Dan Campbell has obviously had faith in him. But, what's the difference between money and security? I don't know. You know what? When you're the best at something, you deserve to be paid as the best or among the best at something. And I think Jared just got what he has earned, enduring tough times, leading this team to a division title, leading this team to 2 playoff wins. That's how quarterbacks get paid. And then the next one's going to get paid and the next one's going to get paid. So, look, I'm thrilled for him. I've watched him, like you guys have, go through a lot of things here in Detroit, and he's come out the other side stronger, and he's come out the other side as a leader for this team and somebody the fans have rallied around, and a guy that's played at a really, really high level.
if you had to do that deal again, I'm going to put you in Sean McVay's shoes and Brad Holmes' shoes. If you had to do that deal again, do you think the Rams would have done that deal again? And I know they won the Super Bowl, and it's probably, I don't know. I just want your opinion on that.
I think so. I think, look, things run their course. And I'm not privy to everything that happened in LA with the Rams, but it became apparent that he was not McVay's cup of tea anymore for whatever was going on, and that things weren't going right on the field, and McVay wanted somebody different to run his offense. So, look, I think it worked out well for both teams. I think the Lions got their quarterback. I think Matthew got what he wanted. I think the Rams got what they wanted. They got a Super Bowl now. Look, we'll see if the Lions can finish the job and win one with Jared as their quarterback. But I think it would be revisionist to go back and say you wouldn't do it, because the time was different, the situation was different, and where these teams were is different now than it was then. If we're looking back at it now, we're looking back at it through the lens of what's happened. Well, they gave up 2 first-round draft choices, but Jared's played really well and kind of reclaimed who he was. Would that have happened in LA? We don't know that. So
Right.
Rams wouldn't give back that Super Bowl ring, I guarantee it.
No, that's a fact. And they've reinvigorated themselves again. Here they are, and Ryan's picking them to win the NFC West. About divisions, the Chicago Bears, of what they've done over the last few years, I think they've done a heck of a job. And do you think they are an actual player in that division now? Are they the Lions of a couple of years ago, the 9-8 Lions?
The Bears were in the graphic last year for a playoff spot till like week 14 or 15 or something like that. They were playing well at the end of the year. So, look, I like you. I think they've done a pretty nice job there. I think they've built a pretty good team. They've got some major playmakers on offense now. And you got a young quarterback. I think that's really where my questions begin. Is you got a guy who's never played at this level before, and a guy who's never seen some of the things he's going to see this year. It's a lot to expect him to come in and do what a C.J. Stroud did or something along those lines. Can he come in and play at a high level right away, a high enough level that allows you to win a division? That's the question. But look, I think their defense was solid last year. That offense has added some pieces, maybe some questions on the offensive line. But I think this division is loaded. I really do. I think the Packers are going to be good. I think the Bears are going to make you earn everything you get. I think Minnesota's kind of in an interesting spot in between, do we rebuild this thing or do we kind of try to retool as the car's moving here? I think they're clearly trying to still win this year, not thinking about retooling yet. And there's some pieces on that team that you don't want to mess with. Look, just walking in there and seeing Addison and Jefferson and Hawkinson when he's healthy is a problem. And we'll see how JJ comes along for them. But that's a well-coached team with some playmakers on defense. And I know they lost to Neil Hunter, and I am happy to see him go. But that's a team, too, that you're not going to walk in there and get anything. The Lions didn't get anything easy from them last year, and nothing's going to be easy this year. This division was better than people thought last year, and it's going to be really good this year. And circling back, yes, I think the Bears will be a factor.
Dan, last question. Is there a team when the Lions aren't playing, you look at the primetime schedule and the team that you want to watch? You want to sit down and watch?
I think Houston, based on what they did last year and then the acquisitions they've made this offseason, they've gone, I've just mentioned Neil Hunter. They've gone out and gotten pieces.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, they've gone out and gotten pieces. I think that's a fascinating team to see. Okay, can C.J. Stroud build on what he did last year? Can that team continue to build on what they did last year? A lot of things came together for them a year ago. It's much like I talked about with the Lions. Now you need to do it. What's Act 2 look like when everybody knows who you are and you've got to go out and do it again? But I think as much as anybody in this league, I'm fascinated to see what they can do, because that was a heck of a year they put together last year. And they didn't just sit back. They revved it up this year and went out and got some players.
Hey, Dan, it's funny. When I asked you that question about teams, that was a team in my mind. I actually wrote down a piece of paper, Texas, for Ryan and Ryan. Yeah, that's the team I'm most
for real.
excited to watch this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what they did last year, and then some of the, they added pieces that we already know can play in this league to that team. So I really want to see how that thing goes down there. And they clearly seem to love their coach and they want to play for him. So I think that's going to be a fun team to watch. Look, we're going to see them. The Lions have to go there on a Sunday night, which is going to be a fun matchup as well.
Dan Miller, voice of the Lions, Fox 2 sports director. Again, you could watch us every day on the Fox Local app. If you do not have that app, you should get it on your smart TV. Dan, thanks so much, bud. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Talk soon.
All right, you got it.